there is something about this moon that's not your everyday moon. Okay, it ain't your everyday moon, guys. We are coming to the very tail end of a nodal cycle. What these eclipses do is they bring change, and change brings turbulence because we all are used to the status quo. Strong indication that we're going to repeat themes that we saw in the 1691. What is the story? Uranus and Gemini bending the north node of fate in Pisces. Now, you might think the United States is in a major war right now, and that's up to you. I'm Canadian. What I'm saying, it could only maybe get worse. And we're going to notice that this moon coming up on the 14th of June is very much a part of that energy. This moon is not to be laughed at. This moon is not a ride, it's not a merry-go-round. It's a roller coaster, okay?
Lunatic astrology.
We have a moon in the sign of Gemini. It is new. It is at 24 degrees. And it is intense because although this moon is not going to aspect major planetary storylines by degree, it is sitting in a part of our sky that we would call Uranus bending the nose of fate. And this makes it extremely rare. There's something about a new moon hatching itself open into our sky coming up on the 14th of June, while Uranus sits in a precise square to the nose of destiny that tells us this lunation is more than meets the eye. There's just something about it where it seems like a simple new moon, but it's anything but simple. In today's video, we're going to dive into how this is connected to aspects of our lives that are deeply and profoundly destined or fated. It's also going to connect us to some major geopolitical turning point stories. So we're going to start today with the world astrology, particularly the Trump administration, but we're also going to talk about, of course, your sign. We're going to be bringing into the story your sun, moon, and rising, and how this lunation might particularly impact you. So stay tuned for that. In today's video, we're also going to talk about the asteroid Urania and Hekate. Urania is often associated with the Muse, to find one's inspiration in life, particularly poetry, song, music, but also astronomy and astrology. In fact, it's not even poetry, it's Muse, dance, astrology, astronomy. I find Urania is always highly activated. Every single time we have UFO disclosures, and these UFO disclosures or paranormal phenomena, these anomalous objects that are flying sometimes and other times are doing their thing, whatever they are, interdimensional or extraterrestrial, I would not imagine we'll get through this lunation of the June 12th timeframe, 14th, I should say, around that time and shortly after without something coming through our news stories. So let's talk about that too as well. So welcome to my channel. This is Lori Lothian. I am your lunatic astrologer. And today we are covering this moon. If you like this kind of all signs content where I dive into how this might impact your life, particularly from your rising sign, secondarily sun and moon, then you're in the right place. I have a lot of content. I put out dozens of videos every month, and hopefully you'll try me out if you're new and hit that subscribe button, like, or share this video with your friends and family. Guys, I am celebrating 150,000 subscribers. I think I'm at 152 or 3 when I'm recording this for you on June the 4th. But the point is that I crossed a brand new threshold, and I just finished moving, so I'm kind of tired. I got to put my YouTube plaque up here. But I want to say thank you. I appreciate all of you who subscribed to my channel over the years. Water is my best friend. And I just finished teaching a 2-hour class, so my throat's a little out of it. And thank you, thank you, thank you. To celebrate with me, you can use code CELEBRATE, all capital letters. Check the description box under the more ... button where you'll find a link to my new website, lorilothian.com, where you can actually purchase any of the resale courses I've done. The mini courses, 90 minutes to 2 hours for 40% off the regular price of $33, are all on sale to the end of June. I hope you'll have fun going on a shopping spree. Let me take a deep breath with all of you. It's been intense. We are coming to the very tail end of a nodal cycle. We're coming to the end of the North Node and South Node moving retrograde through the signs of Pisces and Virgo, which began January the 11th, 2025. And this will close up on July the 27th, 2026. These 18 months have been all about change that we're destined to experience in the axis of Pisces and the axis of Virgo, ruled by Jupiter and ruled by Mercury. Now, Jupiter and Mercury together would be commercial trade and abundance. And we had the Trump tariffs, and we have the trade routes blocked in the Strait of Hormuz. And so destined changes and difficulties in these situations have been happening through the turbulence of this eclipse cycle. We also have the seas, Pisces, and oceans and water bodies and turbulence there, including, of course, perhaps flooding or difficulties in bodies of water like the Red Sea, like the Mediterranean off of Gaza, like actually difficulties right now in the Strait of Hormuz. And so what these eclipses do is they bring change, and change brings turbulence because we all are used to the status quo. I'm bringing this up because with the nodes of fate now completing their journey through these stories of Pisces and Virgo brings health challenges. And now we're seeing with the South Node, it's hantavirus, Ebola, norovirus, and what's next. And so we have experienced a lot of like sudden surges around these storylines as well, as the Virgo South Node is now transiting around 2 degrees of Virgo, North Node 2 degrees of Pisces, and that story is completing itself. In that regard, why this moon is also so important is it's a new moon, not just with, of course, the nodes of fate transiting through the signs that I've just told you about, squaring in a broad square this lunation at 24 degrees of Gemini, but also we have Uranus here for the first time in over 84 years in the sign of Gemini, entering into Gemini at the end of April and now being here for the next 7 years. This means the Uranian impulse is attached to this lunation. Uranus is opening up a doorway for good in the sign of Gemini. We will be doing Uranian energy here for a very long time. Last summer, in summer of 25, on July the 7th to November 7th, Uranus was in the sign of Gemini, okay? But now he's here for good. And we have electric currents and electric shocks of change, innovation, invention, technological revolution, particularly in this case, well, also in a square and a bending of the node in Pisces. So he's not only square the node of fate in Pisces, he's bending that node. And this is a strong indication that we're going to repeat themes that we saw in 1691 when this happened. And that was all about inventions like the diving bell. It was also inventions, mathematical things like Bell's theorem. I think it was Bell's theorem, Rolle's theorem, Rolles, and other mathematical breakthroughs in 1691. Today we call it physics breakthroughs, probably. So there'll be breakthroughs in physics, astrophysics, and technology for exploration, like a diving bell. But we're also going to see coming through this moon and the aftermath of the moon, things to do with military technology. Advancements in maritime and or military technology occurred in 1691 under the same influence that we're having now. And as I record this for you on June the 4th, one of the big stories has to do with the United States Congress passing some legislation that wants to merge the technological warfare innovations and developments between the United States, technically legalize it, and also the blue and white nation in the Middle East with the blue and white flag. Okay. And of course, the reason is cutting edge technology to do with warfare and AI will be blended between the two nations. Now, of course, we're not going to talk too much about that, but the theme of that story is indicative of the kind of things that were going on in military war innovation in 1691 when we saw the same story. What is the story? Uranus and Gemini bending the North Node of fate in Pisces. So we'll see those stories continue to prevail at least until the North Node and the South Node change signs on July the 27th. So buckle up. The other thing I want to pay attention to, as I'm going to show you the sky shortly, is the idea that Hekate is a goddess that represents being at a pivotal crossroads point in one's life. She is the keeper of the threshold of those crossroads moments. And potentially we're experiencing a collective humanity crossing of a threshold. And Promethean fire and the ability of humanity to be self-aware, it may be a very Uranian story, the Great Awakener. And what is it? We are at a collective crossroads moment with asteroid Urania, Uranium, Uranus, Uranium, both together. The other side, that's not the AI, not the artificial intelligence, not the aliens or whatever, UFO, AIPs and all of that. The other story is uranium, right? Uranium, enriched uranium that goes into making weapons that are just quite destructive. I'm wondering if we're going to have a crisis around the uranium story. Uranium is very much associated with WMDs. So hopefully that crisis does not occur, but it may. So I have to point it out. It may. Mars will move around the 28th of the month of June into Gemini, where he will be joining the United States natal Mars and also Uranus. this is very intense energy that often leads the United States when Uranus is in the sign of Gemini, and the United States is born with Uranus and Mars in Gemini in its natal chart, Sibley natal chart, leads the United States to get dragged into major wars, okay, or to have major wars happen. Let's keep it simple. Now, you might think the United States is in a major war right now, and that's up to you. I'm Canadian. What I'm saying, it could only maybe get worse. So what is this pivotal crossroads thresholds moment that we're looking at collectively, that we're at a kind of crossing point or a timeline shift, if I do say so myself? And we're going to notice that this moon coming up on the 14th of June is very much a part of that energy. And well, the June moon on the 14th at 24 degrees, Sabian symbol, pruning a palm tree, having to prune something back to pull it back. It's growing wildly out of control. So what is growing wildly out of control in Gemini? It could be AI. It could be warring brothers. Gemini is a sign of the twins and the immortal twin Castor and Pollux. It also shows places where brothers go to war and neighbors go to war. And we know civil wars happen as well as wars with your neighbors. So interesting, the blue and white nation has wars with every one of its neighbors. It's not a friendly neighbor. You don't want to live next to that guy. And we'll see some more warring neighbors. I'm suspicious of the Lebanon story escalating even further into some dire storylines. That's because South Node eclipses through the sign of Virgo, which is the sign connected to Lebanon's rising sign, always indicates strife in that country from its really unhappy neighbor, the blue and white country flag people. And finally, the other thing is this is a new moon. This is a new beginning, right smack dab within 2 degrees of President Donald Trump's own natal sun. This is important. There is something going on for him with this new moon that's going to be game changing. And it's shocking and it's surprising and it's unexpected because we are Uranian fueled energy. Uranus is in Gemini where the lunation is happening. It is precisely degree based, bending the nodes of fate, and particularly this north node is highly activated in the sign of water bodies and seas. Well, the worst thing that can happen in a water body or sea at this point is naval warfare or submarine warfare and on water bodies. So that's my prediction. Something like that could escalate militarily in the wake of and near this new moon. Just having the new moon literally happening in Gemini, it's in a whole sign nodal square. So there is something about this moon that's not your everyday moon. Okay, it's not your everyday moon, guys. It's just a completely different ball of wax. We're going to bring up the chart. I'm going to show you what I'm seeing. And this is not a long video. It is a video that will give you what you need to operate under the light of this lunation. It doesn't help that Mercury, the lunation lord, is in aversion. That means he can't command what's happening in the sky. He owns the house, the Gemini house. That's his real estate. Like that, hey, there's like a lot going on in my house, but it's behind me and I'm not paying attention. I'm busy with Jupiter and Venus in Cancer having a party. So Mercury's like, yeah, whatever, I'm not paying attention. You guys do your own thing in my house. So a planetary aversion, it can indicate that perhaps maybe Mercury is not able to control or contain or support this lunation. Mercury is also the Lord of Donald Trump's actual sun. Mercury is out of bounds. He's really radically out of control or outside the normative. You've got an out of bounds Mercury. You've got a bending of the nodes of fate by shock and awe Uranus in a place that the lunation is happening. So this is not an everyday moon. If astrologers are telling you that it's just a simple lunation, it is not. It is complex and it is intense and it is fated and it is out of bounds by rulership. When Mercury gets back into his little snuggly bound, which will be after the 22nd of May, things are a little better. But okay, this moon is June 14th, the day before, day of, day after, up to about the 22nd when Mercury is out of bounds. You can expect some earth-shattering stuff to hit the old proverbial reality fan, if I do say so myself. Okay, so let's go ahead and share the chart with you. And I am totally excited by this because this kind of sky changes the world. Okay, this kind of sky changes the world. In one way or the other, nothing is the same after this moon. No, it's not an eclipse. I heard a question. So it's not an eclipse, Laura. It's just a lunation. That is absolutely true. It is not an eclipse. It is just a new moon in Gemini, but it has a square to where eclipses have been occurring along the Virgo and Pisces axis. Therefore, in essence, it's reanimating eclipses that have already occurred. So we had like an eclipse in late degrees of Pisces, for example, September 18th of 2024. We've had eclipses up in Virgo here, and this is reanimating the Virgo eclipses here. The last Virgo eclipse happened in March, and it would have been around 10 or 11, memory serves me, degrees of Virgo, but there would have been an eclipse here in the fall 2025. Yes, September-ish. I believe it was September. And that eclipse, if I remember correctly, was in around the 20-something degree of Virgo. Memory serves me. I should probably check that for us. Let me do that right now. It would be useful to remember the exact eclipse degree, because it will be, if this lunation is really close to that eclipse we had in September, reinitiating the energies by square of that particular eclipse. Now, since I'm always a teaching astrologer and I love to show you what I know and how to do, and I want you to be able to do it yourself, let alone I have a lovely hack to share with you guys. I'm going to take you over to Suzanne Miller, Astrology Zone. I'm just typing it in. Suzanne Miller. No, just go Astrology Zone Eclipse tables. Okay, I can never spell her name. So Astrology Zone, Susan Miller or something. Astrology Zone Eclipse tables. Let's go together, and I'll show you a great resource that I hope you'll be able to use. There's lots of resources, but I like the way she's just collated these for us. And anytime we want to go check the story, we can do it. So here we have it, and then I'm going to hit the table of eclipses. And it's a handy tool to have around when you're like, what degree was that eclipse last year? She starts in 1948. We're just going to jump to the now. And I'm going to remember which of the eclipses last year, 25, in Virgo was close to 24 degrees. And I'm in the 80s. And now I'm in the 90s. I'm just scrolling down to the 2020s. 2025, 24 degrees of Virgo, March 13th of 2025, March 13th of 2025, and at 29 Virgo in September. So I'm glad I checked. It really is reanimating. Think about how you could bring something to life or reinvigorate something from the past. So because it's a squaring almost precisely the March 13th, 2025 eclipse, we know immediately that this is going to be about themes that were emergent in the collective in March of 2025 to do with Virgo stories. Now, Lebanon is a Virgo rising country. Benjamin Netanyahu has his midheaven around, memory serves me, 20 degrees or so of Virgo. So his midheaven is being activated, his career, his reputation, his power structures. That's in the mix as well as Lebanon, the Virgo rising nation, and United States 10th house, which means the party currently in power, representative of that. That's the Republican Party. That party's house of Virgo in the Sibley chart is also highly activated on that March eclipse. And this is in the relationship to that eclipse. It is forming a square. So there's a dynamic, energetic field of energy kind of vibe. I think that sounded redundant, where Mercury ruled eclipse, Mercury off duty, out of bounds, kind of wildly inappropriate right now. And also connecting to that older eclipse structure. Now, I just wrote a piece on my Substack about this cycle of eclipses and other things like that. Please check out my Substack column where I do free speech and my personal opinions, as well as astrology on the political landscape of the world, and reflect it through the lens of the sky. So I'll say that, I remember it might have been the food poisoning episode in March of 25, where Benjamin Netanyahu went to the hospital with food poisoning or stayed home for 3 days of bed rest. Around that time, things were going on. But all said and done, if you have time to go back and look at major events in the world in March of 25, you're going to say, okay, there's going to be a stimulus to repeat the story, to reanimate it in some way, to take it to the next level. So if you have any time to do that, and we want to go back and look at that lunar eclipse, the moon was in Virgo. The sun was across the way in Pisces. It was March 13th of 25. And this particular moon reawakens that story. Now, we all know 2025 in June, there was an attack on Iran by the US and its boss, the blue and white country. So that we know that happened after that. And you go, well, that was not March, that was June. Well, yes, but eclipses don't take action everything on the day of. They open a portal or a doorway. The lunar eclipse opens a doorway March 13th. And I find you can kind of go 3 months or 90 days for a lunar eclipse quite often to get the message of what it's about. So mid-March, April, May, June, right? And kaboom, we were in the old midnight hammer hour. So technically speaking, that eclipse was an instigator for midnight hammer and the attack on the nuclear facilities, enrichment facilities in Iran. So here's what I'll say. It's very possible that that eclipse that happened in March is being reanimated by the square from this moon. The Gemini sky is a house of open enemies for the nation of United States. So there's also potential. It's not even about the United States and the blue and white nation re-attacking with bombs and stuff. You know, sites where there are radioactive elements. They may even be something about the, you know, something coming at the United States as well. If you know what I mean, right? Read the code between the lines, because I can't speak it aloud. But the United States has bases around the world. So it could be coming at one of the US bases as well. This moon is intense. This moon is catalytic. This moon is not to be laughed at. This moon is not a ride. You know, it's not a merry-go-round. It's a roller coaster. Okay. That's what I've got for you. Let's go ahead and look at your sign and forget the world stuff. Your sign is not a roller coaster. Your sign is not all bad. You have your own oasis in the reality, your own little bubble that you create, and you can operate within your own framework and be just fine without the world stuff being particularly important in your story. So don't get caught up making the world stuff like the end of your world. Your world is your world, right? We have ways of creating harmony even when we're in tent cities, displaced, on beaches, in some place of war. We have to find a way to get through it. So we make a bubble of peace within the chaos. This is June 14th, 2026 that I have the sky set for. You'll notice, of course, as I mentioned, the moon is at 24 degrees. Pruning a palm tree, the leaves of a palm tree is the Sabian symbol, where something's gone to excess or it's gone too wild. How do you pull it back? How do you prune it? All right. Warring brothers and neighbors is a Gemini sign. Mercury's out of bounds as its ruler. Not too happy to see it with Hygeia, indicating a potential problem regarding health and water, health and seas, health and contamination of water, water that's non-hygienic. Okay, those are stories that you can make out of the sky. You could. It's squaring Neptune, waters that are poisoned. So there's something in there for you if you're willing to investigate that. Not that I think each of us will look at our water and think it's bad for us, but in some place in the world, there are going to be problems with water and health. Of course, there's nothing more unhealthy than dysentery or cholera from floods and waters and sewer overwhelming sewer water flowing into drinking water. You know, you get the idea. There's no reason that does have to happen, but this could happen under this kind of sky. And the other thing I'd like to say before I talk about your sign, right? You can see Hekate on the node, the threshold goddess, pivotal point, timeline splitting. Yeah. And you can see Urania here. This is that Urania, often associated with information about non-human intelligences, whatever you make of that, and the sky and outer space as well. When Urania crosses the Sagittarius ascendant in the United States every 7 years, this asteroid brings forth a ton of disclosures and whistleblowers. So a shocking whistleblowing moment or disclosure about non-human intelligences or technologies. This is a story that may be breaking on June 14th and maybe up until Mercury goes retrograde on June 29th, for all I know. So there's something there for you to consider if you're into world astrology. All righty. And I'm just sitting with the sky before I move on, right? Donald Trump's sun is right here. Eeks, right? Say eeks with me. And leader of the free world, as they say. Well, that doesn't look so simple for him, to say the least. I don't know if he's delivering the shock and awe or the shock and awe is being delivered at him, but this is very intense energy. He might be standing on a podium disclosing something about, UFO activity. And we don't call it that anymore. Anomalous aerial phenomena or something like that. Unidentified anomalous phenomena is the latest term, because they see these things coming in out of the oceans as well. So there's something there too. Maybe Trump's disclosure time has come. Now we're going to go through your sun, moon, and rising sign. Let me explain the difference between your sun, your moon, and your rising. I hear sometimes astrologers teaching or mentioning that your rising sign is your spiritual essence and your true self. And I'm disappointed or concerned by that perspective, because it's not the true perspective. Now, you can say, how do I know that? Well, I'm using the ancient traditions. And I also know that from my own life experience. You know, if anybody here in my comments has lived through Uranus going over your ascendant, or Neptune going over your ascendant, or Pluto going over your ascendant, especially by degree, you know it impacts the character in the simulation. Your health, your body is there, the physical form that your spirit inhabits. Your disposition to the world, happy, sad, mad, the I am, you can define, I'm a writer, I'm a communicator, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, you know, how you identify the character. I am smart, I am prickly, I am funny, the whole character, you know, nurture nature, call it what you will. You have a particular way of being that starts to show up as a child, particularly formative years. And by age of 7, it's pretty locked and loaded. We are not anything truly connected to the ascendant other than it is the vessel for the light of spirit. And then we play through that vessel like a spacesuit, right? In reality, that is the way we are using the vessel for life. So your ascendant is circumstantially accurate because it's very prone to the vagaries of fate. It's connected to the moon. It's connected to lunar light. It's connected to the nodes of fate. You're essentially driven by fate when your character is just the only thing you're living from. Okay. If you're living from your deeper spiritual self, that's your solar energy. I'm a fire sign in Aries. That's my essence. That's who I am. I'm the fire flavor of God, air, earth, water, fire. And we have modalities. I'm cardinal. You could be cardinal, fixed, or mutable. There's flavors of the divine spark. You are one. Think of a rainbow, one light prisming into various colors. That one light that you are, that one shade of hue of the divine, that is your sun sign by modality, by element, by house, by degree. And then we have the sun playing in matter. So you can think of the sun as the actor or the actress who plays the character in the movie, or as the game player who chooses the character for the simulation in the video game. The same idea. And the moon is your mind. You're thinking, when I say mind, it's how I think and feel. So if you say thinking and feeling, you got nothing. Stop. Don't rely on your feelings. They're not going to be true. Don't rely on your thinkings. They're not going to be true. Your thoughts will never lead you to truth. It is your knowingness. And your knowing place is deep, intuitive, and still, and it's connected to the knowing heart. So there is a part of you, okay, that is always thinking and feeling and feeling and thinking. That's the moon. The moon reflects the true light of the sun, the spiritual light, but it doesn't have any intrinsic light of its own. It's a reflector. Your mind and your thoughts reflect the true light of your spiritual essence. They are not authentically real. They're just reflecting something that is real. But we live a life with thoughts and feelings. So when you meditate and when you get enlightened, when you're spiritually still, you're turning the moon down. You're dimming your moonlight so you can be in the stillness. Practical note, moon is your mother, sun is your father. Moon is home and nest and safety, and sun can be career and purpose. Okay, ascendant is just a circumstantial character in the sim. Let's go ahead and talk about your sign. We'll start with Aries. Aries, sun, moon, and rising sign. We are in a new beginning and a fresh start. I have an Aries sun and moon. I like the idea here for us that this is a sextile, even if it is an intense lunation. It will be at 24 degrees of Gemini, and there's a pruning needed. The Sabian symbol says what's got overgrowth must be pruned back. What are you doing that you need to prune away in the house of writing, teaching, learning, communicating, and social media activity and short distance travel and siblings? Cutting, pruning, snipping might be handy for you in the wake of this June 14th lunation, up to 2 weeks after, even up to a month later. And at the same time, there's some unexpected, surprising developments, and Mercury's not paying any attention. He's busy in the home and he's out of bounds. He's having parties in the home. He's doing what he wants. He's having a good time. He's paying little attention off, honestly, but he's still out of bounds. So the Lord of the lunation is out to lunch and out of bounds. And so this is kind of a feral or rogue new moon. And this new moon is also in a very specifically intense sky hotspot because it reanimates the eclipse of March of 2025 that was happening in the work house. Now, March of 25, this is a house of your daily job, your work, your employer-employee structures, maybe your pets and rental properties, and sometimes it has to do also with health. And so there's a kind of go back to March of last year. And if you had a health challenge, you might reanimate it. If you didn't, March of last year, you might be reanimating a work situation, a job, a debt situation, you owe money, a rental property situation, and sort of bringing it back to the surface for a second round of attention. Now, pets belong there. So if pets were a part of your life, good or bad stories happening last March, April, May. Don't forget the eclipse unfolded over 3 months, or at least over 3 months until June. So last year I was, that incited me to realize I moved. I'm a sun and moon, right? I moved under that influence. That relocated me to a new property in June. But then I moved again already. So now I'm in another property. I doubt this is going to reanimate a need to move again, but let's hope not. But you'll see themes returning from then as well. Sometimes, though, not just the eclipse energy, which is its own ball of wax, so to speak, but what is this thresholds goddess doing here? Why are you making a pivotal timeline split path choice ahead? And this is many meanings. This is your spiritual enlivenment through illumination of true nature. This is the energy of the 12th house where you are making pivotal, life-changing turning points connected to new beginnings in the third house. That may be about money, and that's money you acquire through international revenue, digital or borderless income, far off people, places, and things. There may be a pivot around the way you're going to choose that kind of income, and it may take you right back to my things I do when I'm communicating, teaching, writing, divining, scrying, learning. I'm starting a course on June 15th in Vedic astrology. It's a year-long course. And what's his name? Aswin. And I'm looking forward to it. Maybe it turns out this is just a signature that this is a crossroads thresholds moment in my own learning. For skills-based learning is the third house. So whatever's happening in the wake of and near and on this lunation, it will indicate a pivot point in your life, and it will have long-ranging destined impacts in the downstream of the rest of your reality. It's a big deal. And yeah, that's what I got for you. Hopefully that's useful. Just like ride the wave, guys. I mean, this has got a lot of destiny in it, and you don't have a lot of choices. Maybe your neighbors, maybe your siblings, maybe your cousins are highly involved, and it's not your narrative. It's theirs, but you're involved. Could be health challenges with a sibling, for example, under this kind of sky, and you're just kind of in the story, but it's not necessarily your story. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign. Energy of a new beginning and a new moon in your second house is clearly a reset, new seed that you want to plant in earnings, resources, money, savings, pocketbook, wallet. Okay, the generative support structure of survival, food, shelter, water are generated through the second house energies. So it's a new beginning and a new start, yet it's also unexpected, surprising, or shocking. Uranus. You want to be inspired by the Muse, maybe. Urania isn't just about outer space. You want to find inspiration. At the same time, it is a thresholds, crossroads, turning point, lunation, as it is accompanied by that square to the nodes of fate, particularly bending the north node. This is definitely an earnings house, right? We get money here. Like this is the gains of the second is the 11th. So it can be the corner office, the Academy Award, the celebrity and the fame, the increase of salary, big giant, pennies from heaven amounts. And honestly, people here also exist, like your sibling one older, or people who are friends, allies, and benefactors like Team You. And those people are activated in the sky. Crossroads turning points may be about who you associate with, what kinds of friends you want to keep or not keep. The moon is paring away, pruning away something. And, it could be the types of friends you really don't want to be with that you're pruning away. And the new moon is a new beginning because you voice that to yourself or to those groups. Oh, I'm really not this, this bar hopping club I'm involved with isn't working for me, or I find the book club boring. See you later, guys, whatever. That's a minor thing, but it's much deeper than that because there's something fundamentally life splitting happening here. There's the version of you who chose path A or B. Which way are you going? This new moon is a part of that new beginning. With Mercury at a bounds in the third house, some of this new moon will involve communication, writing, emails, text messages, communicating something pretty intense, pretty outside the boundaries of your normative type of communication. And again, siblings are highly activated, both generally, sibling one younger, one older, very active, and even two older. Those siblings are in the mix for you. This could be a very sibling-oriented story as well. I like this story, though, in one way. I mean, Uranus is the rags to riches and riches to rags guy. The North Node's in the house of windfalls, and Mercury rules the house of good fortune. It could be a very good fortune turn for you on the financial front. It could come through work, and it could come through unexpected lucky breaks. But maybe watch what happens in the 2 to 3 weeks after, around, and after this moon. For some of you, you may be startled by a turning point of financial good fortune, but should these windfalls or pennies from heaven land on your head, what is it truly for? With the Muse, Urania, and the second house, it's to follow the Muse and use your natural talents and gifts in life in service of earnings and vocation. Is reorienting yours towards safety and security needs and towards thrival and enjoyment of your natural talents as you acquire income. It's a luxury. A lot of people will have jobs they don't like, but a lot of Tauruses are being invited to cultivate and open up to a new possibility. All new moons unfold over 6 months in totality. I'm giving you a 6-month story, all of you, but you'll see symptoms of what it's about within a month of the new moon. You'll get the lay of the land. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, first of all, it looks like I have a progressed Gemini sun. We are infused by Uranus right now. It is being electric, unconventional, rule breaking, freedom loving, and breaking through and free anything that shackles us, opening our pineal gland, third eye, and allowing for the great awakener to awaken us to what we need to know. With Uranus in our sign, Gemini, sun, moon, and rising, we are super powered in some way, especially you moons. If you have patterns of negative thinking or thinking, feeling, moping, and all of that, old patterns of emotional distress will be broken apart in the next 7 years. In the meantime, this new moon, new beginning, where we have to prune something, the tree needs to be pruned. You are pruning you. What aspects of your ascendant, your character in the simulation are you ready to let go of? Cut away. What are you pruning when it comes to your Gemini sun? What career aspects are no longer needed? They're wildly out of control. You need to prune the plant for better growth. What Gemini moon, do you need to prune something about your domestic life or your feeling emotional, overstressed, overwrought self? Nothing like a Gemini moon to overthink the problems, right? And so all of this energy is saying new beginnings. All of this energy is saying fresh start. But you might want to include inspiration. Do you feel the muse? Do you feel the excitement of something whispering through you, something greater for these new beginnings to generate in a proper manner, a new beginning, that they sprout properly, like a beanstalk can sprout in Jack of the Beanstalk, because the muse is driving you forward. And a muse isn't necessarily artistic. It doesn't have to be writing or, dance and song. There's muses of science. Like, in other words, the muse that inspires the scientist to have a great new idea. So it's hearing that still small voice within that gives you something to listen to and follow through with. As I say that, we see a critical, pivotal timeline split in your career. June 14th, add a month, and even add 6 months for the fulfillment of it all. Pivotal timeline splitting, Hekate, thresholds, goddess at the crossroads. What are you wisely deciding to go A or B? Which road will you take? The road less traveled, I hope. And the North Node says amplitude, volume up, and intensity. And technically, the North Node is always about what we strive for, what we want to grasp for worldly success. Yet there's a witchy goddess here that tells us, look carefully, go left or go right. One will give you money, but sadness. One may give you less money, but enjoyment. I mean, there's something profound about the way you operate in that 10th house right now of career and public reputation, even if you're retired. If you're retired, you're going to be doing something in the world. Otherwise, you're dead. So literally. So what is this about? Because you define the new beginning. Gemini moon, it's a new beginning in your career. Gemini sun, it's a new beginning in your career. Gemini moon in your emotional deportment in life and maybe home and where you live. And Gemini rising, the whole character of you wants to start fresh in this simulation and fly a freak flag and be yourself and be original. All right. A lot going on there. With Mercury out of balance, be careful about money. Mercury is wildly out of control right now on a spending spree, maybe a buying spree, maybe a selling spree, but there's a lot going on when Mercury's out of bounds in the second house, including your speech being wildly erratic and completely out of control. And so this is also a backdrop story that's happening with Mercury out of bounds in the second house. Well, at the same time, you're dealing up a new beginning for who you are in the Gemini realm. And I think that because Mercury is out of bounds, and he will be till the 22nd, the first week after this lunation has a lot of wild cards and a lot of, wow, I never saw that coming, or I never thought I'd say something that way, or I never thought I'd see such a crazy ass, wild, out of the normative, out of the ordinary direction in my finances, right? Your finances is the second house, but it's all pivoting on career and identity issues. I'm excited. I got invited to Emilio Ortez's My Sons in Gemini Progress podcast show. I love him. I'm going to be on the 17th, just shortly after this moon. Can't make this stuff up. And I'm pretty sure that's going to be a very important event in my life because he's coming in with me to talk under this energy. And I'm on his show for a change. I usually have people on my show. Cancer, sun, moon, and rising sign. We're going in eclipse because I have a chiropractor that I need to get to. And I'm trying to honor my body, and I'm only telling you because you're Cancer and you're the nurturing mother archetype. Cancers, I need my mama. It's like to nurture oneself is your lesson, Cancers, not to nurture the world. And I'm very low in my ability to remember to take care of myself because I'm a workaholic. So I'm reminding myself as I get to you of this truth. You are, though, let's get back to you. You are going to experience a very powerful new moon, a very profound new beginning. Remember in the intro, I talked about eclipse energy too, because this is a new moon that reanimates an eclipse of March of 2025 right here. And so if you could time travel back to March of 25 through to about the end of June, that eclipse energy was suggesting some major pivotal destined changes in your third house. It could be sibling relationships. It could be neighbors and neighborhood stories, city, like the local environment. Could be big changes in your social media, online, teaching, writing, learning, short distance travel, landscape. So that was ongoing. Hopefully some destined changes come to mind for you from March of 25 to the end of June. But this is also a new beginning and a fresh start in your 12th house. And that's a contemplative house. That's like, I need some, can you guys leave the room? And I'm putting the do not disturb sign on. I need to be alone. If you haven't been cultivating enough time alone, and you know that I hear a room of one's own. Do you have in where you live a room of one's own? I don't care. Is it the second bathroom? Can you make a bathtub a room of one's own? Because there's a call for quietude, solitude, contemplation from this new moon. And it's in order to have you align with the muse, to hear that inner still small voice within. And that time alone, that solitude and contemplation is calling you from this lunation. Yet at the same time, Uranus says unexpected, shocking, or surprising new directions that provide that contemplative space. Or because Mercury's out of bounds and rules the moon in aversion, but in your sign, you're going to make some wildly crazy ass outside your own ordinary normatives, right? Cancer moon, your home life and emotions, Cancer sun, your career path, and Cancer rising, your character is going to be wildly out of bounds, acting in ways that are just outside the scope of what you normally consider how I operate. You'll surprise yourself. Jupiter is bigger and larger than life in your sign right now. And because Mercury is also the Lord of the lunation, and he's trying to manage it, very difficult for him in a sign away, but he may infuse the lunation with the erratic, wild energy of his own out of bounds nature. And because of the square to the nodes of fate that's happening from this whole sign, I'm wondering if there's a bending here with the crossroads decisions to do with foreign people, foreign lands, court and legal cases, academic and university settings, threshold choices and crossroads decisions around your grandchildren, and threshold crossroads decisions for your grandchildren. Also, threshold crossroads decisions that may involve a need to align with purpose and dharmic path and meaning in your life. And at some point, we all come to that contemplation in our lives. Is this meaningful? Is this deeper purpose alive, or is it dead in the water? Because we can live that life of the white picket fence or the unexamined life, but this moon in particular calls you to contemplation. Pay attention to your nocturnal dreams, your guides, your signs, your omens, and your synchronicities. This is a moon that's trying to lead you pretty intensely to pivot towards a meaningful, purposeful direction. Now, yeah, if you're in the publishing industry, yes, Mercury rules your writing house. The North Node's in the publishing house, and this can be a major turning point around those things, whether it is about the creative process to write that darn book or choosing to publish it. These themes are there for you as well. Often 12th house plays out like the writer's den, the writer's retreat, or the artist sanctuary, or the artist retreat or community where people go to be, instead of meditating, to be creative alone. And if you're being called for creativity and solitude, then follow the muse, because what you produce under this energy, and I'm going to give you through June of this year, like now, 14th, at least 6 months, that solitude and creative energy will be extraordinary. All right. So especially Cancer rising and sun. So go for it. Leo, sun, moon, and rising sign story tells me that you've got a narrative here around a beginning that's pretty intense, a fresh new start. You want to prune something. It's in your friendship circles and career gains house, long range goals and plans and dreams. Cutting back, pruning those elements of your life so that they can thrive would be a narrative. Yet at the same time, we have such excitement with Urania and Uranus together here, and the square to the North Node bending. This would be like, okay, I want to bend my reality at a crossroads thresholds goddess level regarding my chunky money or my occult powers. Well, it can be you're going to open up your inner sorceress, or you're going to find a new path connected to money in terms of both earnings, right? Mercury rules the South Node and he's the Lord of the Lunation, and your unearned income, royalty income, Google AdSense income, like chunks of money, investments in the stock market, shareholder money, money from divorce settlements, and money from inheritances. That money's pivoting in a radical way, at a crossroads way, at a timeline splitting way. Well, that is happening. Well, all that pivoting and sexual stuff is happening. What do you desire? For the 11th house is a desire house, and it's the desire is our highest goals, wishes, and dreams. What are those for your life? Take stock, take inventory. Major pivotal stories may also occur with a sibling one older than you, and they can be like timeline splitting decisions, and they may involve money and finances. Now, it is a positive house where this is occurring. It's often known as kind of jokingly like cosmic rewards, windfalls, pennies from heaven, and a kind of sense of your karmic rewards roosting, karmic dividend checks coming home to roost. And, you might feel like this is going to be very auspicious. You may feel like you're going to come into a time in which things are lining up for you on the financial front in ways that feel glorious and kind of like you won the lottery. It's not a lottery win here, but it's like you won the lottery. You feel grateful. Yet you got to make a crossroads decisions for this to enact properly. Last thing I want to mention before we go on is pay attention to what happened already when we saw an eclipse at 24 degrees of Virgo. That eclipse was happening here in your second house. A 24-degree Virgo eclipse unfolded in mid-March of 2024 to 2025. Sorry, did I say 23? March of 2025, add 3 months at least, lunar eclipse, you saw some financial changes underway, right? Usually it's financial changes, career changes, stuff like that here. And so what was going on last March, April, May into June, that you saw some significant pivots in your earnings, income structures, your financial portfolio, whatever that was about. And because it was an eclipse, it could have felt very intense and also very destined. And it also may have impacted job and career matters. And that eclipse is reanimated as of this new moon, particularly because it's perfectly square at 24 degrees, perfectly square what's happening. That happened in March through to maybe June of 2025. So look for those themes to reemerge from this eclipse. And this time you get a second chance to do it differently, a way to do it differently. Okay, that's how I would phrase that for you. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. The eclipse of last March of 25 happened in your sign at 24 degrees of Virgo. If your Virgo, sun, moon, and rising is between about, I just give you 20 to 29 degrees of Virgo. You guys felt this, right? You were in the thick of it, that eclipse, right? That happened in mid-March of 2025, and unfurled major change by the end of June last year. Lunar eclipse has a big payload after the first 3 months after the eclipse. So what happened, right? That was a blood moon. That was a big deal. It was in your sign. What was going on? If it's your Virgo sun, it's your career matters and purpose. Maybe vitality. If it's your Virgo rising, it's your whole character in the simulation was getting a huge illumination of hidden factors that you need to investigate under the eerie red light of a blood moon eclipse. And if it was your Virgo moon here, then your inner landscape of emotions and thinking and or your home life was being illuminated under that eclipse spotlight. This is asking you to end an old way of being. It's all South Node eclipses. an old way of being in your identity, an old way of being in your career, an old way of being in your emotions or your home. These are sun, moon, and rising stories. And just letting it go, surrendering. Destiny is calling you. Something different wants to happen. And to let go is to let go, let God. But we don't do that. We grab on, we hold on. We don't like that feeling that we're not in control. And you haven't been in control since January 11th, 2025, when the South Node entered your sign. You'll get some modicum of feeling like you're in control July the 27th, when the South Node moves out of your sign. So this feeling that you're at the whims of fate and destiny and that your steering wheel has disappeared wouldn't surprise me for most of you Virgos. And you might feel a little bit like out of control because there is no control. And that is never a good feeling for most of us. We don't want to feel out of control, but you may be feeling that and have been on and off since, 2025 January. I'm bringing this all up because everything else about you matters only under the context of the eclipses moving through your sign. So whatever happened last March to the end of June, you're back in the throes of it because this new moon in your career house is reanimating the old story in that eclipse I just described to you. And that eclipse then of the spring to the summer of 25 reignites stories that were not complete yet. And it's activating your career house up here, your reputation in the public eye, your visible reputation, weddings, wakes, ceremonies like that, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, christenings, I'm divorced, I'm married, social standing, the 10th house of your visible reputation, 10th house of your career and your purpose. Like, I'm busy doing my job. Everyone look at me, I'm working. That's all up in most people's 10th house. So wherever that is, there's a fresh start. There's a new beginning. It comes out of the blue. It's surprising. The Muse Urania says, are you inspired? Be inspired. There's Uranian energy here. And it's important to note, it's a little like a detonation in the career space. And it brings a crossroads thresholds decision power to your long-term committed love and business partnerships here. Now, if you're with somebody in a relationship, there's a turning point. End of story. This moon is a signal for a massive shift in that relationship. Now, it can be very much a positive thing, like we're getting married, we're moving in together, we're buying a home, it's happening quickly, it's happening all of a sudden, it's exciting. Okay, it can be like that. Okay, so don't stress too much about it. But it can also be the other thing. It could be like, oh my God, this isn't working, this is cracking at the seams, we've got to break up. Both are possible. It can lead to a higher level of commitment or a cracking and fracturing. With the North Node in your marriage house, this is a classic story of we got to grow a bigger pot for the root-bound relationship, or otherwise it's suffocating. But if the bigger pot can't be found at your home hardware store, your whatever, you have Canadian Tire Home Hardware, United States, I don't know what you have, I can't remember anymore. But these hardware stores where you can buy giant pots in the gardening center, this is a story for you. All right, you are literally. If you couldn't find the bigger pot for the relationship to thrive in, you might collapse a relationship under the sky. And it will have an element of unexpected or swift acting and shocking shifts. I can't pretend otherwise, but go back to that March eclipse, March of 2025, add 3 or 4 months. What was it like to be in a primary relationship? These are for those of you in a relationship. Otherwise, don't worry about it. I want to say one more last thing about this eclipse. Hekate is going to be like saying you've got two directions, a fork in the road, timeline split with a relationship. Will you go left or will you go right? Which is the way to go? Jupiter is in a broad trine to this crossroads, and he's trying to help you make the wise choice. Yet Jupiter always gives us what we need, not what we want. And if a relationship cracks under the sky, of June 14th, add 2 to 3 weeks after and let it unfold over 6 months, then it's exactly as it should be. Okay? That's my last bit of advice, guys. Certainly a career change and new beginning in your work is viable under the sky. New job, new position within the company with whom you work, and having that beautiful trine to Pluto and Juno, new contracts, new wealth, new power in the workspace. You could up-level professionally as well. Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. The energy here is telling me that you have a fresh start and new beginning in the 9th house. The 9th house is the house of God. Up there, we find ourselves in alignment with the spiritual life that we want to lead. We have spiritual ideology. We have dharmic purpose and meaning in life. And we have book publishing. And we have any kind of higher education. And we have pilgrimages up here. And we have legal and court decisions. So this is where foreign travel. This is where you're going. This is a new start. The Muse is inspiring you. It's radical and unexpected Uranian energy. And it's also activating a crossroads thresholds decision to do with your work, your job, your livelihood. And then purpose and meaning. Mercury out of bounds in your career space. Maybe you're acting wildly erratic in your career and reputation space, or taking risks outside the bell curve of your normative. But this is telling you purpose, please align, prune the tree, the Sabian symbol says, of excess. Are you going to 5 churches when one will do? Are you booking 6 pilgrimages when one will do? Are you teaching too many courses when one will do? Are you publishing 6 books when one will do? Pare it back. Prune it, take the one thing, do the one thing, like that book says. And the pivot is in work. For 9 out of 10 of you, this is a work pivot. With Mercury conjunct high G, it can be a health and work pivot. You're choosing a path for better health and pivoting towards purpose. And there was an eclipse cycle back in March of 2025, probably spilling out till the end of June in the 12th house, where you might have been dealing with self-undoing bad habits and addictions, or you might have been facing up to situations to do with money derived from foreign companies, foreign people, and foreign shores, and some major changes that were destined were happening March, April, May, June last year. And that is reanimated. And if it has anything to do with work, an unexpected, surprising, shocking, wildly outside the normative opportunity for a new line of work or new job, or working for a new company. This can be headhunters coming in out of the blue saying, we found you on LinkedIn, we want you. So it won't surprise me when a few Libras suddenly turn up with an incredible new job path and are like going, where the hell did this come from? But thank you, universe, I'll take it. But also you're changing direction professionally to better your health. So consider where your health has been lacking because of maybe the level of intensity with work you do, or something to do with your gilded cage of success. Jupiter up here. All right, Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign. While you're minding your own business, a new fresh start, fueled with shock and awe and unexpected turning points and destined shifts, pivoting you at a crossroads moment in the 5th house. The 5th house is your children, your muse, your inspiration, your artistic and creative endeavors. And it may involve also just your children as a principle, also romantic love. Here's a crossroads, thresholds, fated turning point, splitting your timelines, but you've got a lot of secrets in the 8th house. What are you digging up? I don't know. I don't want to say, but there could be shocking surprises regarding your children and your loved ones. But if so, it's clearing the air for a fresh start and a new beginning, and you want to prune the secrets tree and pull back. Letting secrets out serves this lunation, and secrets revealed by your lover or your children wouldn't surprise me at all. Yet at the same time, this turning point crossroads decisions might ask you, are you ready to go into dharmic purposeful alignment, Mercury out of bounds in your 9th house, to align with your dharmic natural talents and gifts? If so, the sky opens up a window, a ray of light to help you do that. You may also have major pivotal decisions, turning point actions regarding children, pregnancy, conception, and grandchildren in your reality as you approach this new beginning, new moon. This new moon is also activating the energy of what happened over here back in March of 25 through to the end of June. This is your eclipse, the lunar blood moon that happened up here at 24 of Virgo. And this reawakens that energy. Go back to last March through June and tell me, what did you do regarding a sibling one older, friendship groups and circles of belonging? Could have pulled away from some of those, or regarding your long range goals and dreams, or involving matters that may be about your career gains themselves. And so you were reorienting then, and there were major shifts in that part of your reality back in March last year through until the end of June. And the deep question is, what did you really desire? What are your long-range goals, dreams, and desires? My Scorpio rising sun and his wife decided to desire to have a first child. And that would mean, of course, some changes for a Scorpio in their earnings, income structures from their work. But what we desire and what we choose was up here. And so go back to last year and see how this may reawaken this. You could come into some chunky money unexpectedly and surprisingly, and with a trine to Pluto from a parental figure or a family of member origin, and even an inheritance. So there may be some pivots in the financial structures here that feels like good fortune, and it's a crossroads threshold timeline split. You might not choose it. You don't choose an inheritance. Someone has to choose you to bequeath it. But I could make a case that in the month that follows this, or up to 6 months later, you may come into inheritance money. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. A new beginning, and a new moon. It is happening with wild intensity with Uranus, Urania in your seventh house of significant long-term love partners, business deals and business contracts, legal agreements, business partnerships, but also your audience marketplace and fan club. Whatever you're doing over there, there's a huge shift of energy. You're pruning it back. The palm tree is here. How many people are you paying attention to? Too many? How many clients do you have? How many do you need? There may be a pruning back of attention as well to your partner or your partner's attention to you. Because this is reanimating an eclipse, just so you remember that happened in your 10th house last year, reputation, social standing, and career. What happened last March? Mid-March to the end of June, that blood moon eclipse up here at 24 degrees, it's being reactivated as a hot spot in the sky. I think you might be also making some major pivotal choices, Sagittarius, regarding long-term committed love relationships and social standing. And it usually looks like checking off single, divorced, married, widowed. Those kinds of check marks are here for you. Maybe you contemplated making changes in your relationship standing to a committed partner last March through June. Now you're ready to animate that and go for it one way or another. That leads me to the thresholds. It could also be about choices in career. Hekate is sitting with the North Node. This Uranus is bending the node, well, co-present with the lunation, who's also bending the node. I think you're going to make a pivotal turning point here regarding your home-based matters. Who you live with and where you live are under extraordinary new beginnings and radical unexpected fresh starts. I like this and I don't like this because when it comes to the fourth house of where we live, we always look for stability, and yet you're mutable and you're willing to adapt. So maybe you feel it's an adventure, but there is a change perhaps. Even Pluto trining from the third house can indicate a profound change of residence, but it may be connected to a relationship in business or love. And lastly, your partner may be going through this. If you're in a relationship, your partner's going through this radical intensity. Mercury is out of bounds in the house of shared resources. Your partner wants all the money that you share. They want to initiate a divorce proceeding. They want to take the house. They want to take the property. They want to take the car. I don't want to scare you, but there can be this turbulence in an existing relationship about the shared resources that seems wildly inappropriate or wildly out of bounds to your mind. How do you get through this? Okay, not around it. You trust Jupiter, who lords over Hecate. The Crossroads timeline splitting is happening. Jupiter is in the house of chunky money and shared resources. He's trying to benefit you here. And maybe it's just even the idea that you'd ever have to separate resources in a long-term love relationship that's got you rattled. Jupiter's giving you what you need, not what you want. And there's a case here for you as well as receiving unexpected inheritance money from a new beginning, okay, a dark moon in your setting place, a maraca or death house. Somebody in your family of origin is ready to leave the planet. Can be anyone, grandparent, parent, and you might be finding that is going to lead to more freedom in your life as you accumulate some legacy transfer money. And that can happen up to a month after this lunation and certainly over 6 months as well. Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising sign. I'm talking fast, so you can slow me down, but I am being comprehensive. Capricorn, new moons, new beginnings, new moons, new beginnings. Every time we see a new moon, we think, I'm starting all over. Fresh as new as a, what is that? Fresh and new as a baby's bottom or something in your work house, your debt house, literal financial debt, karmic debt. You're clearing the slate on karmic debt. You're starting fresh on debt relations like your credit cards or your mortgage or your alimony. You're starting fresh and new in your job structures. So, where you work as a servant, like you're in a company, you're employed, or those people you employ, you're starting new. And you may be starting new when it comes to properties at which you could abide or live because you're renting, because you're a leasee. And so this is all fresh start, new beginnings. And we have Uranus for the unexpected, the shocking, surprising, and Urania for the inspired and the muse driven. When I look at the fact that all of this is squaring, the bending the node in your third house, a change of city, a change of town, a change of neighborhood, a shift of local environment is pretty well a massive thing here for lots of you. It doesn't have to be the be all end all. I have a Capricorn girlfriend who wants to move to Vancouver, but she'll probably keep her own other property up in, say, the Yukon, but there's a locational shift here. And so what this means is you will come off of this new beginning in the middle of June, and you'll notice that you'll probably see evidence within a month that this is possible, that you might make a residential change, or it's fated to do so. But usually if it involves rentals, not purchases. And finally, because this is reanimating, I like that word now, reanimating the mid-March of 2025 blood moon eclipse in Virgo on the South Node, there's also a awakening of something that was active in your chart back in March through to the end of June last year. Now, it may involve many different things because it looks at the house of the local environment, cousins, aunts, uncles, siblings, my kinfolk in the hood, my local environment. It looked at that, it animated it, right? It was a blood moon, sun was here. And so there's still that shift of that question of where of residing somewhere. At the same time is a ninth house story, which is a spiritual house. The house of God lets you into the door of spiritual ideology, path and purpose, dharmic meaning, but it's also foreign lands and foreign shores and far off people in different cultures. And with this energy, you go back and see, literally take notes mid-March through to maybe the end of June last year, what was happening. Were there chances to travel abroad? Were there themes connected to legal and court matters? Were there themes connected to gurus, teachers, and spiritual ideologies, pilgrimages, all of that? Because this is returning again for your reanimation of the same story. Mercury's out of bounds. He's in the house of other people. This can be a significant romantic long-term partnership. Somebody you're committed to monogamously, for example. Mercury's out of bounds. He's acting way outside the norm. That can be your person doing that, acting like wildly rogue or communicating in unexpected, crazy ways. Jupiter's trying to keep things in order. But whatever this is, I mean, we're talking about like, this is a committed story, not a dating story, right? Not a friendship even, but like, this is my person. And there's something going on over here. Mercury will retrograde on June 29th in the house of significant others. And there's a good chance that 80% of you will incur the return of a partner from the past, like in emails, phone calls, and texts, re-engaging with you for some reason. And that will be true for the first 3 weeks of July. So this moon is under that umbrella because this moon, ruled by that Mercury, can indicate that story coming back at you. And it includes unfinished karmic business because the karmic debts are animated in terms of love relationships. And in particular, also ones from the past. You're going to notice that this moon that happens on June 14th may show you its hand, like what's full house, anyone, what it's really about by the time you get to mid-July, right? A month later. So watch for that, but it can unfold over longer term time. And the longer term time, of course, is 6 months until we have a full moon in the sign of Gemini. Good luck with that. Wishing you the best. Oh, I guess you could, with Pluto trining, you could get a new job. You get an opportunity financially to emerging out of the blue, but any new work opportunities will require you to consider traveling and may involve foreign people and foreign lands. Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. The sky tells us that there's a new beginning and a fresh start in your fifth house. This is a new beginning and fresh start that says love and romance, sexuality, fertility, pregnancy, and children. And new beginnings for your children if you have them. This impacts a first and second born child very well. And there's erratic, crazy, wild, unexpected developments. This Uranus, for God's sakes, and he's squaring the North Node. And it's money, for goodness sake. So money developments regarding romantic love, children, entrepreneurial endeavors, creative and artistic projects, and a crossroads thresholds moment. Take path A or B. Which one is the right one for you? The road less traveled or the road everyone takes? Who knows? But timeline splitting here. This new moon is a part of that on June 14th. Yet at the same time, this new moon, while it could invite in a new relationship that's destined and fated, it can also invite in a new creative project, a new artistic endeavor, or a new fresh start in entrepreneurial endeavors. At the same time, it's ruled by Mercury in your work house, and he's out of bounds. Out of bounds Mercury, wildly out of his natural habitat of the sun's declination, north and south, he's going to find himself sort of splurting and saying things and doing things that are outside the usual spectrum for what you're used to. And he's in the house of employees. He's in the house of your work environment, your own employment environment. He's also with Jupiter, who's kind of blowing everything up out of proportion. So be cautious. But you also may be coming into new relationships, if you're single, that can come through the work environment. It surprises you. Like, for me, I'm on Zoom with people. So maybe, across the crowded Zoom room, I'm working and I meet somebody, but I'm just giving you like a new love can blossom, but it may be connected to work environments rather than anything else for you. And the wild, inappropriate, out of bounds might be the boss is telling you that they're into you. I mean, that's out of bounds, right? Or that's out of the declination. So you're like, okay, wow, this is crazy, but it feels right. Like that's an example for sure. Hygeia there. Unexpected developments that are wild around health tests and health measures for sure, coming off of this moon mid-June to mid-July. But it should be fine because Jupiter finds solutions and protects you, so no worries there. But I want to mention again, the spark of the muse, right? Urania is the muse of music and dance and song, astronomy, astrology. She's in the sign house that's normally associated with creativity and procreativity, but it's also very muse oriented. So there's a strong focus on finding that muse. And I want you to time travel back to when the eclipse happened as a blood moon at 24 degrees of Virgo last March through to mid-March through to the end of June. You were under that spell. And it was illuminating the eighth house. Well, the eighth house is your occult abilities. I see dead people. I can time travel. I can biolocate. I can out of body experience, whatever those occult powers are, those cities, those gifts are animated as of last March. And that there may be a reanimation of those gifts, but it's also the eighth house of how you handle money that you don't earn. Google AdSense revenue, royalty income, shared resources, investments, all of that. And there's something to draw your attention to. The eighth house matters. It can be a real animation again of those themes, but now it's connected to a pressure point moon at 24 degrees of your fifth house. What inspires you in order to make that kind of residual money? You're making crossroads decisions on an axis of finance connected to an axis of inspiration, creativity, enjoyment, pleasure. And at a deep level, you're asking yourself to follow the muse and follow your bliss at all costs. And from there, proceed, right? Not even with a caution, maybe proceed with bliss and abandonment that feels good. Major turning point decisions around long-term committed love relationships are inevitable when we have this kind of lunation in the fifth house, squaring the nodes of fate. And if you go back to last March through the end of June, you're in some kind of potential turning point rumination around long-term love relationships. It could have involved money, of course, as well, or stability, but it's also about what inspires you, what feels true, what enthusiastically you're willing to embrace in both love, creativity, entrepreneurship, and on we go. And if you're single, you could fall into a relationship with somebody that is an artist. Venus is now in your seventh house, creative artist type person, or, performer or something like that, or somebody who's also very invested in their own muse, the muse of science, the muse of astronomy, astrology, doesn't matter. The muse is just the spirit of inspiration, divine inspiration that moves within us. Let me know how it goes. Love this. Love our Pluto trine of it. We can get quite powerful and wealthy if we follow the muse, saith the sky. All right. Last but not least, best and always best, Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign. It appears to me as if there's a new beginning and a fresh start with a radical, unpredictable element of Uranus, and it's in your fourth house. Home, land, property, real estate, where you sleep at night, your domicile. And because you also have a square to Hekate and the node of fate, bending the node of fate from that moon and Uranus particularly, it is like you are at the threshold. You are the doorway itself. Fate is moving through you to bifurcate you into a timeline in which matters of property, home, land, and new beginnings are available. With a radically out of bound Mercury to the 22nd of May in charge of this moon from the fifth house, some of this changing of the domicile may involve your children, may involve conception and pregnancy, or may involve what brings you joy and pleasure, what is creative and entrepreneurial, or a romantic love story. Now, certainly with Venus moving through what I often consider a dating house on this moon, it could indicate in the month that follows or up to 6 months later, meeting somebody that you wish to date, but they could also lead to something to do with changes in your home life or where you live. The energy of the eclipse that you experienced last March was a blood moon eclipse at 24 degrees in the house of long-term love with the south node of release and letting go. There's a possibility that last March through to perhaps the end of June, it could even bled into July, but it's a post-blood moon eclipse narrative. that would have had you considering the release or surrender of an existing relationship or relationships to other people who are important to you in business or love. These are the longer term committed, significant ones. And if you did like let go of a relationship last March through to say end of June, even early July, I don't know, somewhere in that time frame, if there was a surrendering, releasing, and letting go of that relationship, then this is reanimating it, not to necessarily restore a relationship, but to bring your attention to the themes that were happening then. This moon is erratic. This moon is destined. This moon hasn't been this way with the square to Uranus since 1691. So whatever this is doing, if you're going to change your home, which you might, Mercury is in the sign of the moon, which means the home, right? The domicile. And this is a new moon. Then it's a home that's big and abundant and expressive and magnanimous and large, Jupiter. And it's healthy for you to be there. And it involves water near a river, stream, pond, or swimming pool. And it may be wildly unexpected and completely outside the norm of any kind of home you'd like to consider. Funny enough, it is a house with children. It could be your kids say, oh my God, we got a house with a beautiful in-law suite. Would you like to move in? I'm just making stuff up. Or the move is connected to something going on in the lives of your children. That's another option, as well as romantic love partners. Fifth house romance is romantic. It's sexual. It's falling in love. It's not the established stuff. And, Venus and Leo, cross from Juno and Pluto, you might start dating. But if you date someone, they could be quite exotic. They might hail from a distant shore or far off land. That's what I got for you. Hopefully that was helpful, useful, and you can navigate the sky using the story. And I'm going to go off and see my chiropractor, recording this for you on June the 4th. And this is for the June 14th lunation. Have a wonderful time. No outro today. I'm going to be late for my appointment. Thank you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.